What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast. Today we have a special guest. This guy, he's an entrepreneur. He's a creator. He's the CEO of Rhone and the chairman of Beyond Type 1. He's also a family man, and he's a great, great individual. Guys, please help us welcome the one and only Nate Checketts. What's up, brother?
That might be the best intro I've ever had.
Woo! Love it.
I think I'm just going to bring you guys everywhere. Just say like, all right, let's go. Do the intro.
I told him I'm going to pay him just to narrate my life. Just follow me around.
So I'll make sure I'll record an audio for you, send it to you, and you can use it for as many
Perfect.
things as you
I'm
want.
just going to walk around with my phone just like, all right, hold on. Before we talk, there's something you should know about me.
Well, one of my friends, I don't know, like I think with Nest or something, if you set it up to Bluetooth with your phone, like when you walk into your room, you can have something play. So he has like the themes, the theme song to Jurassic Park. And his wife hates it. So every time he walks in, it's like, oh. Maybe you could get get him to do an intro.
Yeah, that's a big selection on going hardcore Jurassic Park.
Yeah, it's great. Every time he puts a story up, I die.
So how you been, dude? How's everything going for you, man?
Everything's great. It's crazy, weird time, all the cliches. But I think it's been an incredible year to just take a step back and break out of reality a little bit and think through life. We don't spend enough time on our own life blueprint. And hopefully it's given everybody a chance to do that and think about those important things a little bit more.
No, I agree 100%. It's and I know it's one of these topics we're always going to be bringing up upon when we talk to different people and other guests on our podcast where we talk about the current situation that we're living in. But it does make you realize what you have, the opportunities you can take, and how you can take them, and where you can spend more of your time in. With that being said, I want to kind of dive into you being obviously a businessman yourself, you have a family. How was that for you when you first transitioned into this whole pandemic? The way your business was running, the way that now you're operating with your family, how does that look like? And how does that make you feel now moving forward into, I would, I guess, say a new generation moving forward with everything that's going on?
Oof. Yeah, that's a loaded question. So if I talk for an hour, just stop me. But before this started, I was definitely in the office every single weekday of the week. I'm up super early to get my workout in, spend some time with the kids in the morning, in the office, sometimes till late. A couple days a week, I probably wouldn't get back, until they're just getting right into bed. Then I'm back on my laptop cranking things out. For the first couple of weeks of the pandemic, it was like this really unique, special time where we were all so worried that the only thing that mattered to us were the people that were the most important to us. And for me, that was family, friends, and then obviously my team that I work with every day in and out. And it wasn't about work, and it wasn't about money. It was about, how are you? What do you need? How can I help? And that was such a special time. And I took a lot of I did a lot of journaling during that, just so I could soak it in. I tend to remember more when I write and not type. I have to physically put pen to paper, and how it's evolved is, I think now I've had more meals with my kids over the last 8 or 9 months than I did in the first. My oldest is 11, in his entire life, and I've said this is a non-negotiable. I will never go back to the way things were. I just won't. Sure, I'm excited to get back and travel and I think being in the office together will be great, but it's going to be different. And, if we rush back to the way life was, we will have missed a gigantic opportunity and life lesson that has come from this. The question that I keep asking people is what are you going to do differently as a result of what you've experienced over the last 9 months? How are you going to change? Because I think change is something that we can be intentional about. And if we are, it can really benefit for us. And for me, I am intentionally going to make sure that I have more meaningful opportunities with my family just by virtue of the way I structure my work life.
Yeah, I think that that's a really important question to ask people too, because if we did just go back to how things were, there wouldn't be that change, and there wouldn't be a way for us to be able to prepare for something like this to happen again in the future, and also to be able to reap the actual benefit of like you said, right, being able to eat with your family or spend more time with your friends or do anything other than just like grind at work and travel home.
Yeah.
So taking the time to reflect on those things, and I think just anything across the board in life, right? Like the more you're able to, as you mentioned, step back, take that time to reflect, and then analyze the situation, and then move forward with some action, right? You can always kind of come out better on the other side.
Yeah, and I think we've been given permission in a societal way that we didn't need before, but that some of us might have held ourselves, restricted to. And then it opens up the question of what else am I restricting myself to for some like false standard that exists? Because I think about my dad's generation, and it's been fun watching them because they're like, oh my gosh, why have I been wearing a suit and tie every day? Yeah. Like I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to force. But there are things that I think get passed down just because it's all that the previous generation has known, and you're sloppy if you're not in a dress shirt and a whatever. Or you're not going to be as productive at work if you don't follow these particular guidelines. I'm taking conference calls now while I'm walking outside, while I'm on a treadmill. Those things were absolutely the technology to do everything that we do, the interaction. Zoom's not new, right?
That's right.
And the ability to do so many meetings, but now it's that societal permission. And I think it's a great advancement for all of us to basically focus on some life design. Some people are more extroverts and they want to be in person. It's really important for them. They get gratification by being, and so doing some of that self-assessment, I think, is important, and really like being honest with yourself. Because I'll tell you what, I've learned some lessons about myself that I didn't know or appreciate, kind of just going through this.
No, 100%. I think we can all agree on that we've all learned our own individual lessons. And I think also too, if you have a significant other, we've probably learned some lessons as well through our relationships and through our relationships with our children and friends. But with that being said, I know you mentioned about how you really used to be a workhorse in the office and used to come late, and even then you have to still do certain things. What does that new dynamic look like for you moving forward? Is there going to be a lot of changes in the office itself, smaller office? Are you going to have more of your workers have the option of they can work from home, they can come into the office? Is it going to be like, hey, this week you can come half in the office, half at home? Like, what does that look like? And what is your biggest suggestions moving forward for other businesses, for those who do have like a home base or a headquarters, and how to like now balance that out with, where things are moving to?
Yeah, I read an interesting research study that was done that said 68% of all employees in a post-pandemic world will require some level of work from home availability as part of their job. It's a requirement, meaning I'm not even interested in the job unless it's possible for me to work from home at least 1 or 2 days a week, right? So, what that says to me as an employer is I need to think about that from a recruitment standpoint. If I want the absolute best talent, I can't cut off 3/4 of my work pool just by virtue of the fact that, my design is such and such. And then on top of that, I've heard people talk about how, there's the other side of it, right? Which is like in Twitter or Facebook, is like, we're going to be remote forever. We're never going to have offices. I'm like, forever is a really, really, really long time. Yeah. Like that's a big thing to commit yourself to. It's a great title, gets you in the news, but I think that we don't know what the world's going to look like in a year from now.
Agreed.
And the only thing that really works is short-term planning right now. because the moment you think, I mean, we thought we'd be out of this by like May.
Yeah, 14 days, right, to slow the spread. That was it, 14 days and 30 days.
And now
you know,
look,
And
9.5 months later.
Nobody thought May 2021, and who knows? I mean,
Maybe.
So I think that we're trying to play it one step at a time, but I do think that remote working will absolutely be a part of our future, and I think office design is going to change rapidly. The way we're thinking about it is we're going to have workstations set up, but we're going to prioritize our space around congregating and ideating. So the idea is that it's big meeting rooms, whiteboards, video sharing, presentation, rolling racks for clothing and fabric samples. And the idea that we all go into an office and we sit at a desk on a computer, that doesn't need to happen anymore. If we're going to do that, we'll do that at home. And everybody's built out their own home workstation to be able to do that now. So
sense.
we're trying to align around what are the days that would make the most sense for, and give people the flexibility. Is it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? Is it Tuesday, Thursday? But I think we're kind of narrowing down to somewhere between 2 and 3 in-office days that are prioritized around the meetings we have to have, the in-person, like interactions that we want to have, and then any of the now we get to do the work that can happen outside of the office.
And how has the response been with your team? I mean, for the most part, really, it's just Mendez and myself, and then we have a couple of people that work for us as freelancers. But, having a relatively decent-sized team, what has the response been with that, where you're like, when you have, if you have, announced them, be like, listen, you're going to be able to work from home sometime. When we come in here, we're all going to be together really trying to push forward and come up with some creative ideas or some creative solutions on whatever problem we have. What have they been telling you? What's the response that you've gotten from some of them?
I really believe in just asking those questions, because if you don't ask, you don't know. And so once a quarter, it sounds stodgy to use the word, but we give a survey out and we prioritize it, and we call it our Q12 survey, and we ask 12 questions. And there are questions that we've kind of identified, but we track and we measure everything. Now it's anonymous, so we don't know if, Anthony, you said something versus, somebody else, but we know that in general, how the team is feeling about certain things. For example, last year, we know that our target score out of 5 is 4.25. That's where we're trying to get to. And we've kind of consistently beat that. We outperform Workplace. We've been rated as one of the best places to work, but we have really big aspirations and goals. And so one of our scores was coming in, I think it was at 3.82. And it was, the question was, when I do a good job, I am recognized for my efforts. And it gave me an opportunity to sit down and think through, how are we recognizing people who work hard or make achievements? And it's almost entirely not about compensation. The natural thing is to think, okay, people are trying to, people don't think others work as hard as them, and they don't think they get recognized enough for their work. That's universal. That's what every workplace is going to find on some degree. But it's not about, okay, now let's pay you more. It's about, how can we make sure that we recognize accomplishments? So we've made some changes. And that score was our highest score this last survey out of everything. But it came from, if you don't track it, you can't change it. So, it's the same thing in fitness, right? It's important to track and measure results, because that which you measure, you can adjust and improve. And so, the reaction from the team's been amazing. Our satisfaction score has gone up tremendously through this. And I think it's been because we're trying a lot of things. We started our own internal company podcast, and unfortunately, I'm the host for it. But I interview one person on the team every other week, and then we launch this podcast. It's 15 to 20 minutes, but it creates that interconnectivity between the team members, because we've hired 6 people during the pandemic that none of us have ever met in person.
Crazy.
Amazing.
Wow.
Right?
So can you elaborate on some of those? I mean, I'm assuming that the podcast is just one example, right? But can you elaborate on some of those ideas that you've seen really work to help, drive an increase in employee satisfaction and appreciation? because I think it's something that's super important for all employers.
100%.
I know that, for us, it'd be huge to understand, like, okay, what are people really looking for? Because you're right. Every time that I've ever come to one of my old bosses and been like, listen, like, I don't feel like I'm being appreciated. It's not me asking for more money. Like, if I want more money, I'll go work harder, and
do something else.
Right. Or do something else. Like, I just want acknowledgement that, I'm doing a good job and that I should continue doing what I'm doing or change, so that I can do a better job in the future.
Yeah. So specifically, the things that we did is our employees get Rhone gift cards twice a year to just go spend. We want them wearing our stuff and want them to feel excited about new product launches. But I now write an individual thank you note to all 100 team members to make sure that they hear from me that I appreciate them, that I know what they're working on. And in order for me to authentically do that, I have to know it. I can't fake it. And I also don't copy and paste. Like, just be like, oh, I said this to this customer service rep. I'm going to say the exact same thing to this. Like, I really need to know, why is this person better? Why is this person unique? And that forces me to get more into the details. We also created a budget for each of our teams that they can use to acknowledge and recognize employees. So, for example, we had one team that said they were going to do an outdoor socially distanced activity with wave runners. And that's what they used their budget for. But I wasn't close enough to that team to know, one, that they had access to be able to do that, or two, that there was an interest level of doing that. They had an amazing time. They really enjoyed it. They followed all the protocols that we gave to them. We just finished a big tech integration, and I had one team member who just worked so incredibly hard on that. And I went and he's got this really awesome 2-year-old who loves red trucks. So I got him a Power Wheel, like a red Power Wheel for his son. Yeah, and maybe this thing was like $250. If I had just gone to him and was like, thank you so much for killing yourself and working nights and weekends and all of this, and here's $250 cash, he would have been like, thanks. And not that that's not a lot of money, but it's just that, like, it takes extra time and effort to think, what is meaningful for this person? And I remember as a kid, my dad, he had done something, great at work, and somebody sent him a Sega Genesis. And I still remember this guy's name. And I was like, because it was that meaningful for us as kids, that it was meaningful for my dad. And, I don't know if either of you guys are parents, but if you want to make me happy, do something for my kids, and nothing more meaningful in the world to me than them.
Oh, I love that. So Josh, do I know your love language?
I think if I got his daughter a Power Wheels thing, he'd fucking steal it and start. I see him driving it around.
Using it.
Stella, get away. It's daddy's turn.
I'm the king.
Yeah, no, my wife we've got 3 boys. She likes to tell everybody she's got 4 boys because usually I'm out there racing them on whatever they're trying.
It's the best, man. It's absolutely the best. And look, man, everything you're saying is extremely spot on. And I think 100% that, that is one of the most important things going into, any business, is understanding your employees. And even ourselves, me and Josh are going to get a lot of this as our teams grow and as our business grows. And I know a lot of listeners are going to be able to, add this on to their current businesses as well. What are some of the tools, and when I mean by tools, technological tools that you are using now that you weren't using before because of COVID, that you would highly recommend for businesses to take on because you see it as such a huge piece to where everything's going?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty lucky, right? Because we're a relatively young company. And so everything that we've done, we were already ready for this. I mean, it was almost like flipping a switch. It wasn't quite like that, but it's just people stopped going to the office. But we already had remote video working software. We use Slack for all of our team integration. Slack was just recently purchased for a crazy price.
Slack
I think
is
23 or 26 billion. We use a video conferencing software that we call, it's called High Five. That is great, similar to Zoom. I think the tools that we've developed have been more around like product design tools and how we're sharing and like what the workflow of that is, because we do a ton of wear testing. And so before it was really easy to come to the office and we're all like, holding the same short samples, seeing how it fits on, testing the fabric, pulling the fabric, pouring stuff on the fabric. And now a lot of that's happening more at the home level. And like, but we're so fortunate that so many of these tools are right off the shelf. It's not like it needs any kind of specialized. We have remote storage for files and sharing and all that jazz. But no secret sauce. We use a ton of Google Docs and sheets and presentations.
Can't
for
go
everything.
wrong with Google.
Oh man, yeah, it's just so easy now. And the other thing that drives me crazy is when people try and like take the credit for the age that we live in. They're like, well, we're like some of these DTC brands. It's like, well, they act like they invented this product. It's like, sorry, you didn't invent luggage. Like, you're just a benefit that you can sell luggage on the internet.
Right.
Like, that's not new. And so I think it's really just about, taking advantage of what's available to us.
So what's in store for Rhone the rest of 2020 heading into 2021? Do you guys have any like big developments coming on, or just kind of trying to churn and move forward into the new year?
Well, we're launching a really cool collection to our Rhone Reward members today, and then to the full consumer base tomorrow. So I'll give you guys kind of I guess by the time this goes live, it'll be past. But the collection is called the Bolinas collection, and I don't know if you guys know Bolinas, California, but it's a super cool place because it's one of the most beautiful spots, and the locals hate tourists. Like, all locals hate tourists, and but they like go out of their way to like take down road signs so that people don't know that they're actually like passing through Bolinas.
I love it.
They write negative Yelp reviews about the town. It's like, stay away. We don't want you to know about this. And we were so inspired about it, like just like making something that we love so much that we were like, can we find something that we love enough that we like don't want anybody else to have? And we kept coming back to this really amazing fabric, and we launched a hoodie last year we kept thinking we ordered enough, but it kept selling out. And we've got some cool colors that are like enzyme washed, like just super washed down. It's great for the beach. And so it's a hoodie, a crew neck sweatshirt, a jogger, and then a short that's made out of this like super supple fabric. That's like it's a French terry type feel. So it's honestly like the most amazing stuff. You like won't want to live in anything else afterwards. But yeah, I'm really energized about that. And then we've got a lot of cool things launching in 2021 that I can't talk about yet. But basically the way we're thinking about it is, how do we make super cool limited edition stuff that we know is going to sell out, but that we just want to make and we get excited about it? And then how do we make some things more accessible to the consumer that is striving, wants to, but realizes that like some of this is out of their price range. I don't like being expensive. Like, that's not something that I pride myself on. Like, I don't want a lot of people to wear it. I don't like excluding people. So I've challenged our team to say, like, if we're going to make a $50 or a $58 short, it's got to be the best $50 to $58 short there is in the market. Absolute, because that's why we haven't been able to go down market, because it's hard to make an unbelievable short at that price point. Like, I mean, just to have the same features as some of our other products do. So, yeah, I'm really excited about where we're headed.
Now Rhone started, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Rhone started out essentially as just like a training clothing company, right? Like fitness clothing company. Do you see Rhone kind of heading in? Because right now it really seems like athleisure wear is really hot. All I mean, I'm kind of wearing like a baggy hoodie, baggy sweatpants, baggy joggers, stuff like that, like really loose fitting tees. Do you kind of see Rhone stepping into that side of the industry at all and heading into more, because like, I don't know anyone who doesn't like just like lounging around in shorts and in t-shirts and gym clothes, right? But unfortunately for the majority of our lifetimes, gym clothes weren't the most attractive looking feature in my wardrobe. So do you see Rhone kind of heading in that direction and kind of trying to grab some of that market share as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I've always hated that term athleisure, but it's something that we get labeled as a lot. And, it makes sense instantly when you hear it, right? Like, you're like,
just rolls off the tongue.
It's what I can live in, but like it feels athletic. And the thing that I realized after I spent enough time just thinking it through is there were a lot of companies that were cropping up and were making like workout looking clothing that if you actually worked out in couldn't hold up. And that really bothered me, is like, I don't want a pair of sweatpants or a t-shirt or, something that looks like I was just at the gym, or for women, a pair of leggings. But then the moment you actually use it and sweat in it, it smells, it breaks down, it starts to pill, it doesn't hold up. And like, I kind of align around this idea that life is a workout, right? Like chasing your kids, rushing into a call, or like, going outside and walking the dog and exercising. But if life is a workout, then you need apparel that's going to hold up that standard at all times, meaning you're not choosing between comfort and performance. They have to go together. So we really, we orient ourselves around this idea of performance lifestyle, that, our consumer today has a performance driven lifestyle in everything that they do. They work hard, they play hard, and they lounge. Cause like, guess what? Recovery is a huge important part of the process. So we've been making a lot more product in that range, but everything we do has to have a performance element to it. This Bolinas collection is treated with our Gold Fusion process, which is a eco-friendly, non-toxic application that uses gold and silver nanoparticles to fight odor. And it's the only thing like it in the market. There's nothing else that really compares and holds up after 100 washes. Still 99% effective at fighting odor. Most garments are 15 to 20 washes, and it's eco-friendly. So we're super conscious of the way we make things, and it's really, really important to us to make it, so that it will hold up and that it will be comfortable.
No, I gotta give it to you, man. Like, top of the line, it's a really, really valuable product what you have there. And it's funny because I actually in November, before coming on, because I was like, man, we're gonna have Nate on, and I was in Hudson Yards in New York, and I saw the store, and I was like, damn, that's super cool. And I just walked by, and I was like, man, can't wait to have him on, because it's just like when you see your brand in your clothing, you could tell it's Rhone. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even have to see the logo or anything. You just know it's Rhone by the way it appears, by the way it, you feel it, the way it moves on an individual, especially when they're working out. Like, off the bat, you can tell. Now, I wanted to ask you, knowing that the clothing industry, the apparel industry, and the fitness industry, such very, hard, competitive, saturated industries, how do you go about, I would say, separating yourself apart from the rest? And I know you mentioned about your, top of the line materials that you use that separate, but how, in other ways, how do you separate yourself from the rest of those other brands? And also, too, what is the biggest challenges you have facing when trying to apply these new materials or get these new materials to keep on driving a game-changing product into the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the most important thing of brand building is to have a vision and a purpose. When we were getting started, the idea for Rhone categorically was not mine. It was my co-founders, and it came from, he was kind of analyzing the industry, and he said, hey, most men's active clothing is being sold by these 4 or 5 companies. They sell around the same price point, and the majority of their distribution is through wholesale, meaning to like a Dick's Sporting Goods and a Costco and all these other places, which means that they're marking up their garment. And so to hit these price points, they're making their stuff so cheaply and inexpensively that it just falls apart. It's like, it's planned atrophication, it's planned to fall apart. And all of the innovation is happening on the women's side. You have these 200 female-focused brands that have much more direct distribution, but they're not spending enough of their time on the design or the fabric side, thinking about what's best for men. And so there's this white space right here. There's nobody focused around men's. And we kind of said, all right, that's an opportunity. But I wasn't excited or energized about it until I felt like, you know what, there's a real opportunity now to think about how, what guys are going through and what they're thinking about. I think I've said this so many times, but I really believe it. For the first time in human history, men are at this weird crossroads where we're like, we don't know where we fit in societally. You know what I mean? I think most guys are supportive of equal gender rights, and they love the idea and some of the movement around kind of promoting equal rights. You have a daughter, you want your daughter to have the same exact opportunities as you would your son, and yet we've done it so much through shame and belittling and saying, here's all these unbelievably toxic male examples, the Jeffrey Epsteins of the world, and these guys, they deserve Harvey Weinstein deserved every negative thing. I think it's despicable what these men have done. But I think about my 3 sons growing up and them only hearing that and not hearing or seeing, let me show you an example of this awesome guy, Josh, and what he stands for and what he does and how he lives his life, because they need to know what to do, not just what not to do. And we need to provide positive content, not just negative avoidance content. We don't need to shame people. We need to encourage and promote and inspire. That's the only way we're going to get to equal and better. And I also think about all of these performance brands that we grew up with. It's like, here, run faster, lift more, be stronger. And for all of us, we have personal goals. We want to hit our PRs. We want to get better. But we're not professional athletes. We're professional people. We're fathers. We're husbands. We're boyfriends. We're in the community. We've got our own set of ambitions. So what about that 95% of our life? Fitness is important to I think most of the people that wear Rhone, but it's not the only thing that's important to them. And so we really tried to build a brand that's about inspiring you to be at your absolute best and understanding that life's a journey, that you're going to take 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards, but the idea is to progress, to move forward. So it's this passionate pursuit of progress, and that's what we care deeply about. It's how we treat our team members. We talk about our personal goals with each other. And we try and live it authentically, because at the end of the day, it's about being kind and trying to move yourself forward. I think that has a ripple effect across our communities.
No, I mean, I think you're 100% spot on with that. We have, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but we have an over glorification of athletes when we think about male peak, right? Peak masculinity, athleticism, yep. The look, the wealth, the celebrity behind all of that stuff. But there is absolutely zero talk behind, someone like you, right? You got 3 sons, you said, right? Yeah. The dad of 3 who also runs a company, who, has a healthy relationship with his wife and also finds time to take care of his nutrition and exercise. There's no talk of that. It's just
not a news story.
It's just all, you got to go all in. You got to battle everything. You got to, overcome every obstacle and, just steamroll it. And it's really trickled down into what we see in the health and fitness industry, like the people we're dealing with. I couldn't tell you how many of my clients have been like, but I didn't go all in. Like, I fucked up this week. Like, I didn't do everything in my power. It's like, dude, you got 2 sons and a daughter. Like, you're traveling around the country half the year. You're, running a Fortune 500 company. Like, you got to calm down a little bit. My expectation of where you need to be health-wise is not where your mindset is at. You don't need to have a ripped 8-pack. I don't have a ripped 8-pack, and my life is health and fitness. I go out to eat and have ice cream. I go out and, I don't drink, but I'll go out and have drinks with my friends, right? Celebrate and have a good time. All of those things are a necessary and meaningful aspect of your life that you're now avoiding or not putting enough intention into because you think that you have to be like some savage in the weight room. You do not have to do that. We need more of these positive role models where it's like, look, you can go play with your kids. you can exercise for 30 minutes. It doesn't, you don't have to kill yourself and then be in the ice tub for 45 minutes like LeBron. Like none of this perception of what, the mainstream media wants to portray as being the masculine male or the effeminate male even, what I mean? Like, oh, so you're not a masculine male, so that must mean that you need to wear like fuchsia colored clothes and, scream at no, you don't. No, you don't. Yeah. Like you still want to have like, personally for my look, I like to wear, more like earthy, duller tones. I don't need to scream from a mountaintop that, I'm in the room, like you see with a lot of these bigger brands, which is cool.
And have Jurassic Park playing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that would be dope. I'd be cool with that, but
I'd be down with that.
But Josh, I always know when you're in the room, bro.
Yeah, I know. I am still pretty loud. Do you see my smell? Is that the problem? But you know what I mean? So to be able to have these examples where it's like you can find your own, way of acknowledging who you are as a person and what you believe in your value system, I think is so important because there isn't enough of that messaging, right? That it's okay to be masculine in certain areas, but you can be, more effeminate in others, or like it's okay to just be like full blown masculine, but you also don't have to be an asshole to be able to
right.
Shout that to the world.
Yeah, I think part of the challenge that we have right now is that we do not do enough self-work up here. It's like we spend so much of our time consuming content that we don't do enough producing or creating. And when you think about that, our minds and our bodies weren't really built to like have constant noise coming and input coming all the time. And there's really such power and peace to be able to sit and get to know yourself a little bit. When we feel sad, we do this, we pick this up. Yep. When we feel angry or frustrated or we need to distract ourselves, we do something to pull ourselves away versus really learning to sit and feel our emotions and understand how to react and adjust to those. The Hamlet soliloquy of "to thine own self be true." Like that is, you've got to know and understand yourself, and you've got to understand what your weakness and challenges are, and you've got to figure out how to be okay with who you are, and also challenge yourself to where you want to go. It is hard. It's 100%. Simple, but it's hard.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more, man. I think, we certainly live in interesting times with the pandemic. We live in certain interesting times with culture, and I think we're just kind of seeing a reshaping of how things are going to be moving forward. Hopefully, we can kind of realign it in a way that is acceptable and understanding for everybody.
Instead of being who's right, who's wrong. It's just realizing, hey, everybody has their own beliefs, but at the same time, you can all come together.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And I think one of the hard things is that, a 24-hour news network was built for something like 9/11. And those things don't happen very often. And so what does that mean when you have extremism created? Because extremism works. Extremism sells. And so when there's no news, you have to create news. You have to take something that's not a big deal or not representative of the way most people think, and then you push it to the absolute edge and max, and that draws interest. It creates interest. It's not sexy or interesting to be like, guess what? Nothing really terrible happened today. Yeah. Nobody's going to click on that clickbait.
Yeah.
Here's my news.
I'd click it. If I see a news station saying nothing terrible happened today, I'd be the first one. Wait, what?
But you actually I think that's a huge point to bring up, though, is that we've seen such polarization over the past really like 8 years, right? That people are so tired of it that I think you are really starting to see that other 95% just say, listen, where's our messaging? Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I think that you found that hole in the market where it's like people are really striving for, listen, I'm a mom or dad. I work a real job. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not an influencer. I have real problems. Help me solve those real problems, right?
Yeah, and they're allowed to. And it's like, I think one of the best examples of this is sport spectating is going down and sports participating is going up. meaning people are feeling empowered to like participate in sports themselves, whether it's marathons or 5Ks or CrossFit competitions or whatever, and we're spending less of our time just watching. And I think that's super powerful and positive, you know, for whatever. And it's not even about competing, it's just about achieving and kind of doing that for yourself. And look, I think this has been really positive, and as people put good head on their shoulders, the one thing that I always try and stay grounded with, it's super simple, but I have this note card that I just put on my computer like 4 years ago. I haven't taken it down. It just says gratitude on it. And like, to me, it is the most foundational principle to wake up and think about, what am I grateful for? Because if you start your day that way, it just changes everything, you know, versus starting your day and like, you know, immediately flipping through, like, you don't need a journal, you don't need anything. Just start, and the very first thought you have when you wake up in the morning is, what is one thing I'm really, really grateful for today? And if you do that every single day, it's like, there's no way that doesn't have an impact on you.
Yeah, I completely agree. I know Mendes feels the same way. I know you got a heart out in a couple minutes. One thing, I saw that the little BYU sticker on the back of your phone, though. So next time we have you on, I kind of want to get into your experience on how that was, your time at BYU. I've always been interested.
They're doing pretty well now, right?
They're
playing
so.
well.
They lost to Coastal Carolina last week, which was a bummer. Because I think Zach's a great quarterback. I think they were just caught. They threw that game together so last minute. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even call myself like a diehard Cougar supporter, but somebody sent it to me and I thought it was convenient. So
okay, cool. But before we wrap things up, I know Mendes is going to have a couple questions to ask you rapid fire. But where can people find you, reach out to you? What's the best way to get in contact?
Yeah, I'm on social media, on and off social media, depending on the day. But Nate Checketts, and then Rhone is just at Rhone on Instagram and Twitter and all the social platforms. And yeah, I mean, I love it when people reach out, and I love kind of engaging with people that way.
Really appreciate it. And thanks again, man. We really appreciate you. And really thank you for all the golden nuggets and your time and your positivity and you know, and pouring on, you know, the message that you have with you, your company, and your team. So I want to hit you with some little quick questions, kind of like the little rapid fire, and then we'll close things up.
Hope your seat's not getting too hot with these.
Oh boy, here we go.
First question: what's your marketing style and message going into the new 2020 era with your brand?
It's, you know, it's so cliche to say new year, new you. It's new year, same you, right? It's new year, better you. And it's, and like, I think this idea of rapid change or like false expectation sets people up for failure. So it's really just about how do we build on the habits and steps that people have taken. Even if you've fallen off the horse a little bit, we're going to get back up and help inspire you to keep going.
Love it. Next question. If you had to suggest a person who's brand new at seeing your brand, what are the two pieces of product that you would tell them, hey, you got to get these right now and try them?
I mean, our essentials line that we just launched, which is kind of our undershirt, underwear, socks. It's like the spine of your closet. If you have those things in line, it almost doesn't matter what you put on over it. So I would definitely check out our essentials line. We did, there's like 7 or 8 companies that we did wear testing on, and we had 20 individuals test everything in a blind, like, you know, like a blind taste test. So we blocked all the logos, and our product got picked in that 19 out of 20 times. We've never had results like that in any wear test. So I would definitely check out the essentials collection. It's awesome. It's my favorite. Truly and then amazing. The new Bolinas collection that we're dropping, by the time this hits, people are gonna want to live in that for sure.
Love it. All right, next question. We got 2 more. What would you like to see change moving forward?
For me, for the country, for
in general.
I really think it just comes down to like just being nicer to people. Like I try not to get focused on being disappointed in man's inhumanity against man sometimes, but that really is like the thing that I struggle with. And you realize when you study history, you know, things like World War II and you know, Nazism and fascism, it didn't it didn't come out of nowhere. It started with small degrees of mistreatment, of lumping people into groups, of saying, I don't like these people generally because of this thing. Mm-hmm. And, I'm a big believer that every single man and woman is my brother or sister. And I have to remind myself to see them that way, that they have hopes, dreams, fears, realities that, I need to make myself empathetic towards. And that goes from like the major things like racism, but it also comes down to how are you treating somebody on a customer service line? It's like little things like that. And I'm not saying it because I'm perfect at it. I'm saying it because I start my day by reminding myself of that so that I can try and live up to my own expectations. So I think if we can all just remind ourselves to be a lot kinder and more empathetic to each other, there's like nothing that would make a bigger impact on this planet than that.
Well, I really appreciate that because I think that's definitely going to drive a ton of impact. And I think that can kind of tie into my next and last question. What is the biggest piece of advice you can leave off to all our listeners today in one sentence?
Keep it consistent. To thine own self be true.
Amazing. Well, Nate, it's been incredible talking to you. You're an amazing individual, and I think you're going to, you and Rhone as a whole are going to be able to make dramatic improvements in, not only the fitness wear line, but also, the way people are receiving these types of marketing messages, right? I think it's super important that we have people like you in Rhone within side of the industry to be able to drive home that, there is something out there for the, it's so weird to be normal nowadays, right? But for the normal person, right? Yeah. Like it's okay to be normal, and we have exactly what you need. So one last time, thank you, Nate. Everyone, make sure you guys check out Rhone, check out Nate. Until next time, everybody.
Much love.